Are you ready to bake the holidays? This can be a very stressful, expensive time of year, but it doesn't have to be, especially when we're baking.
Yeah!
I'm dedicating this whole episode to cheap but incredibly delicious bakes. So yummy. I've got the cutest cookies you've ever seen that cost $5, $4, even $3.50. And these adorable bundt cakes are only $7 to make. Or this 2 for the price of 1 pear galette. FYI, that's just a fancy way to say freeform pie. And last, this enormous strawberry trifle that feeds at least 16 people, which breaks down to about $1.50 per serving. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to sacrifice on flavor when you're baking on a budget. I'm Mia Starr, and I love to bake. I like to roll up my sleeves, get creative, and bake all kinds of yummy treats. Smells so good! Don't worry about making a mess. And the holidays are a perfect time to cozy up by the warmth of your oven and spread a little cheer with your bakes. It's so good! From wonderful winter cakes to festive cookies, I'll teach you techniques and show you a ton of shortcuts. Ooh, look at that drizzle! It's a snack! This is Baking the Holidays. Holidays can be an expensive time of year, but baking doesn't have to be. This recipe is one of my favorites. I'm calling it Perfect Peanut Butter Reindeer Cookies. And it only uses 3 ingredients. All you need is a bowl and a spoon and a tray, and then adding a few pretzels and a red candy nose, dress them up a little bit for the holidays. You're gonna impress everybody at your parties. First, we're gonna mix in our peanut butter and sugar together. 1 big scoop, and our sugar. And we'll start just by mixing it about halfway, just to get the peanut butter and sugar incorporated. I'm using a wooden spoon instead of a spatula because it's a firmer dough. Now we'll add our egg and a pinch of salt. In my mind, salt doesn't really count as an ingredient, but if you're being specific, I guess it's a 4-ingredient cookie. Ooh, starting to get thick and ready to scoop. I'm so tempted to just bite all of this. I want to just lick the bowl. Next step, we're gonna scoop them and roll them in sugar and place them on our tray. So I have a little ice cream scoop, which works great as a cookie scoop if you want to get even consistency cookies. It's what the pros use to make their cookies round and all the same size. So we'll take 1 scoop and roll it in a ball, then roll it in a little bit of sugar. Now we'll move it over to our tray and press it down a little bit to flatten it, and they'll generally stay in that shape after you bake them. When I was in school, I worked 3 jobs, and I know what it's like to be on a budget. So it's great to find ways to pinch pennies and create great recipes that taste amazing but don't break the bank. This will be our last peanut butter cookie for this tray, and we'll get to dressing them up. I wanted to make them a little special, a little bit more festive, so we're gonna turn them into little reindeer. And this isn't just any reindeer. Obviously, we're making Rudolphs. I've got my pretzels here and my little red candies. Starting with our pretzels, I'll break them up so that we can make 2 antlers. Just holding it in the center, chip away at the pretzel like this. And this will be 1/2 of our pretzel antlers. The other half will be broken and useless, so just you can eat it. Okay, so let me show you how to put them in. We'll place them on the top corner of each cookie and just kind of press them in like this. Okay, cute! And then last step, a little red nose in the center. So cute. I think this is a really fun recipe for kids too, because every step of this recipe is so easy. It's mixing things together and sticking in some pretzels. It's a fun way to get them introduced to baking. Here we go. Now let me pop these in the oven at 350 and I'll check on them in about 10 minutes. While my reindeer cookies are baking, I'm gonna show you how to make $4, 4-ingredient snickerdoodle cookies. I'll show you how to make it with a fun, festive, glittery twist. In a medium bowl, mix together 1 stick of butter and 1/3 cup of sugar. Add 1 cup of self-rising flour. Mix until a dough forms. Scoop the dough into small balls. Then in a small bowl, mix 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon and 1½ teaspoons of gold edible glitter. Roll the balls in the cinnamon sugar mixture. Place onto a lined baking sheet and bake at 350 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. Yum! So that's 2 cookies for $7, or if you have the same pantry as me, you didn't have to leave the house. Finally, it's time to eat one. I'm gonna go for a Rudolph reindeer. It's so good. Almost too pretty to eat, but not pretty enough. Crispy, chewy, buttery, cinnamony. They're everything you would want in a snickerdoodle cookie, plus a little glitter. Don't worry, chocolate lovers, I didn't forget you. We're making some adorable bundt cakes and some tasty cookies just for you. This next bake is for all my chocolate lovers. It's your time to shine. I'm gonna show you how to make some chocolate cookies, but first we're gonna make mini chocolate bundt cakes. This whole recipe rings in at a grand total of $7, and you can make 6 bundt cakes. Now, people will hate on box cake, but I think it's a great place to start. It's a great base, and with a few different changes to the recipe, it turns out amazing and no one will be able to tell the difference. We'll start with our box mix and pour it in the bowl. Any box mix will do. This is just Devil's Food chocolate. Now we'll add sour cream, and this is where I'm deviating from the back of the box recipe. Sour cream also gives it that nice tang and an extra depth of flavor that's really yummy. Then we'll add eggs and oil. A box cake mix just combines all your basic ingredients like flour, sugar, cocoa powder, and leavenings. So it's just a great shortcut if you don't have all those ingredients at home or you want to whip up something really quick. Really get in there to get all the lumps out. You want a smooth, even batter. Yeah. Now we're gonna fill our bundt cake pans. So we're just gonna add in our cake batter in scoops, and that way we can make sure everything gets in there and we're not just spilling all over the place. So for this recipe, we're doing 3 scoops for each mini bundt cake. And if you don't have a mini bundt cake pan, that's totally fine. You can make this same recipe and fill cupcake tins. Then we'll pop them in the oven at 350 for 20 to 22 minutes. These mini bundt cakes are gonna cook pretty quickly, so when we check them, we want them to be risen and firm to the touch. While these are in the oven, I'm gonna show you how to make a peppermint chocolate crunchy crinkle cookie. These are less than $5 to make. In a medium bowl, combine 1½ cups of powdered sugar and a ½ cup of cocoa powder. Whisk until combined. Mix in 2 egg whites until it thickens. Using a cookie scoop, portion out your cookies onto a parchment-lined baking sheet. Then top each cookie with some crushed candy cane pieces. Bake at 350 degrees for about 14 to 16 minutes. So you know me, I love to decorate, so we're making 3 different styles of bundt cakes. I'm gonna make a chocolate espresso bundt cake, one drizzled with some candies to look like a holly leaf, and then one to look like string lights. I'm gonna make a coffee glaze for this using a little bit of instant coffee and powdered sugar. Just grab a spoon to mix it together until it comes together and forms a glaze. I love coffee. It's a problem. I'm obsessed with coffee. It's always been one of my favorite flavors, especially paired with chocolate. It's kind of my trick to make chocolate even better. Look at that drizzle. So we're gonna make another glaze, and this time we're just adding milk to our powdered sugar to make a white glaze. For our string lights decoration, we're gonna melt down our chocolates and dip our bundt cake in white chocolate. When melting down chocolate, you always wanna do it in short intervals so that you don't burn it, because chocolate can burn really easily, and we wanna melt it down to just the right consistency so that we can dip. We'll start with the string lights bundt cake first. I'm just gonna pick up one of my bundt cakes and dip it down about halfway. Let all that excess drizzle off. Flip it over. cute. Next, I'll add my semi-sweet chocolate into a piping bag. And then we're gonna cut the tiniest little holes so we can drizzle some curly lines to look like the strings for the string lights. Now, drizzle away. I'm gonna just kind of make mine in a curly pattern like this to look like the string lights when they're coming out of that box that's been in the closet for 11 months. This might look familiar. I'm kind of doing the same pattern as when I'm piping the reverse shell technique on my cakes. All right, we'll add our chocolate covered sunflower seeds to look like string lights. I'm just gonna add them all along my string. And I'm just placing the colors at random so it looks the most like Christmas lights. Great, done. On to the next style. For my next bundt cake, I'm gonna do a holly leaf decoration using these red candies and some gumdrops. But first I'm gonna cut them in half so I can make it look like a holly leaf. Next we'll add our glaze to a piping bag. Now we'll drizzle over our bundt cake like this. I always think about going back to the center, work your way around in a circle. Basically, you don't want to go straight across or straight up and down. You're kind of drizzling around in the circle, following the ridge lines. Now I'll finish these bundt cakes off with a holly leaf decoration. So with 2 gumdrops, I'll place them like this. And then I'll add 3 little red candies in the center. Okay, how cute is that? So cute and simple. For our third and final style, my favorite, coffee! So same thing as our last bundt cake, we'll just drizzle back and forth around in a circle. I feel like this is the kind of content that's really gone viral on social media lately. It's just so satisfying to watch something drizzle like this. Mini bundt cakes like this is a great way to get started because they're small and they don't cost a lot of money. You can have fun decorating and play with different styles just like this. It's a great project to start out with. I'm gonna grab my chocolate covered espresso beans and press them into the top. These are my kryptonite. Oops. This is why we decorate over a tray. You're definitely gonna make a mess. I love all my chocolate bundt cake children the same, but actually it's a lie because these are my favorite. Done! Woohoo! Also, don't forget the crinkle cookies we made. Now we have 2 decadent, delicious chocolate treats for everyone in your life that loves chocolate. So between these bundt cakes for $7 and the crinkle cookies for $5, you can have all this chocolatey goodness for $12. Next up, I'm making a gorgeous pear galette that will rival any French patisserie. Now I'm gonna make a pear galette. One of the best things about this is that it's 2 for the price of 1. Puff pastry always comes in 2 sheets, so you can make 1 for the party and keep 1 for yourself. This might seem like a departure from what I usually do, but I just wanted to show you a different way to decorate with fruit. It's just another way to have fun with your bakes. The first step is to cut your pears down, and then we'll take each section and cut them into thin slices. So I'm using red pears here for no reason other than I love the color red for the holidays. And we're keeping them in these sections when I place them in my bowl. That'll help us with the decoration later. Now, like I said, each package will come with 2 sheets of puff pastry. So we'll just roll out 1 to begin with and save the other one for later. We'll roll out our puff pastry just a little bit to elongate it and make a little more space for the pears. Now we're gonna dock it. With our fork, I'm just gonna poke some holes down the puff pastry, but leaving about 1 inch around the edges because that will be our crust. This will allow the puff pastry to not puff as much in the center, and it'll puff up around the edges and look like a little pie crust. And that's it, the crust is done. So much easier than making a pie crust. Now I'll add my pears to my puff pastry, and picking it up in the little clusters, I'm just gonna spread them out like this, like a fan, and place it, and make sure you leave that 1-inch border. You wanna land at about 4 or 5 slices per square so you have enough space to fit them all in. I'm going for a checkerboard pattern, so I want them to be in little square boxes. Okay, our next one, we'll put another cluster, just like we did our first one, right in the corner. And now our last cluster of pears, Yay! So even though I'm making a galette, it still feels decorative with all the pears sliced and patterned in these different directions. Now we'll make a glaze by mixing some water into some apricot jam. And we'll spread this all over our pears. It'll give it a nice shine and beautiful golden look. When you think of those fancy French pastries in the window of those bake shops, and you see the fruit glistening and golden, this is how they do it. Now I'm gonna brush it over the entire galette, a little more liberally on the fruit, and then I'll add just a little bit on the edges. The reason is this has a lot of sugar in it, which could make the edges burn, so we don't wanna add too much. That looks really good. Look at it glisten. Last step is to sprinkle the entire thing with some sugar. Now, if your pears are super sweet, you can skip this step, but I like the look that it gives to the galette. I'm gonna bake this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes for the puff pastry to puff up. Then we'll turn down the oven to 350 for an additional 15 minutes to let the pears cook through. So this is my 2-for-1 pear galette. This whole thing is just $8.50. Looks nice and shiny, glistening pear heaven. I think this pear galette is really beautiful. I love the checkerboard effect. If you're a little scared to try some of the decorating techniques that I did on the bundt cake, then this is a great place to start. It doesn't require any special fancy techniques. You're just cutting some pears and laying them out. Finally, I'm making a towering trifle that will truly impress at your next holiday party. And the cost of this is going to blow your mind. There's always one big holiday party in everyone's calendar, and if you're tasked to bring the dessert, this is what I suggest. A beautiful, big strawberry trifle that feeds over 16 people, and it breaks down to just over $1.50 per serving. There's something in this for everybody. We've got pound cake, pudding, whipped cream, strawberries, everything piling up to make a beautiful dessert. My first step is to make the vanilla pudding because it's gonna take a little bit of time to set. I'll mix 2 packets of instant vanilla pudding with half a gallon of milk. Whoa. Now we'll whisk that all together until it all is nice and smooth. Now, once all the instant pudding mix is dissolved, we're gonna pop it in the fridge for about 5 minutes. Next, I'm gonna cube up my pound cake, and all I'm gonna do is chop them up into little cubes. So how I like to do this is cut it right down the center. Then I'll cut each half in half. Then we can lay our halves down and then chop it across to make cubes. Dump them in a big bowl for later. The next thing I have to do is make some whipped cream. Whipped cream is super simple. It's just heavy cream, powdered sugar, and vanilla. And it's as easy as that. That looks good. For this whipped cream, we want to under whip it a little bit because it's going to go in and layer with everything else, so we want it to stay a little bit more silky. I have all my components ready, my fresh whipped cream, strawberries, pound cake, and pudding, and now we'll layer them all together to create a beautiful strawberry trifle. Starting with our pound cake, I'm going to take half of what I have in this bowl and spread them in an even layer on the bottom of this dish. So remember what I said about this dish feeding a lot of people? You can tell now. Really focus on getting the pound cake level on the sides because that's what you're gonna see. Next, we'll add a layer of strawberries. We're gonna do the same thing and add half the strawberries on top of the pound cake. And then really focus on getting the strawberries up against the glass because that's what you're gonna see when everything's assembled. We're basically creating a dessert lasagna, all those layers. Now half of our pudding is gonna go in the dish. I'm gonna scoop it in. We'll ladle it in. If this is a lasagna, the pudding would be like our marinara sauce. So I started by scooping the pudding into the middle, and then I'm kind of working it out towards the side. So keeping your layer nice and clean is gonna make this dish look really refined. Next is whipped cream. So same technique, we'll start by spooning it into the center. Okay, now with my offset spatula, it's kind of like frosting a cake. I'm gonna spread the whipped cream from the center out towards the edges. It's time for the fun part, or my favorite part, which is decorating. I'm gonna start by piping a border on the outside of my trifle. This is called the rope technique. All you're gonna do is hold your piping bag at an angle like this, and then we're gonna start squeezing, and really gently with your wrist, gonna make small circles like this. So it creates a continuous looking rope effect. And every time you take a break down at the bottom here, then you can readjust your hand and pick it right back up over where you stopped, and no one will ever be able to tell that you stopped piping there. Now with my cut strawberries, I think I'm gonna just lay them in a row right inside that border. And this is where you can really be creative and add your own personal touch to it. Now, I'll pipe the same border inside those strawberries. And I'm kind of just making it up as I go. And then I have a ton of strawberries left over, so I'm gonna add some more to the center. I think I'm gonna take these really pretty pieces and fan them out kind of like a flower. I think by being a little bit more intentional with the decoration, dressing it up a little bit more makes it more holiday rather than just a pile of strawberries on top of a strawberry trifle. It's really fun to surprise yourself and see what you come up with. There we go. This is our $26 strawberry trifle, which actually breaks down to just over $1.50 per serving. It's gonna be the star of your holiday party. To all my penny pinchers out there, this one was for you. These are some of my favorite recipes, and they just happen to be budget friendly. These bakes deliver on flavor and wow factor, but won't break the bank. Ah, I've been waiting all day for that. So good! See you next time for more baking the holidays.